I'm with Steve, another video, and we're going to talk about the story of Job. Well, it's really a story more involved in, and then it's just kind of refresher about it. But the big three are really involved: the devil and God and Job. But I'm going to backtrack a little bit and talk to you about before we were born. And we have talked this many times about being before and the life you had before you were born. And what is interesting about all this is that one reason he came down here is to experience life for all that it really is, the entirety of life. But the other part of it, a very important part of it, is about faith. And what I'm saying, in other words, when we were up there before we were born, we were in the presence of God all the time. Part of the reason we came down here is about faith, and what we came down here is to experience the absence of God. We actually experienced the absence of God. And what we're dealing with, and what we're down here, it is really, it is about faith. It is about belief. And when the story of Job comes in, is, as I said, the three were involved: God, the devil, and Job. And the devil was surprising. There's a lot of stories about the devil, but he was really he was right next to God. He was the one as far as one of the angels. Very smart, very intelligent, good looking, very handsome. And we talk about vanities, and we'll get into that in a second. But he was very next to God and very close to God in many ways. But the vanities. And the vanities, in a way, came about because of that, because, the devil was, being the angel, he was a very handsome God, but his looks got to him. Vanity got to him. The other part of it is what happened to the devil. It is about power. He wanted to be above God. And you and I know that no one is above God. But no one is. And the devil, fell from grace. But he had access to God. He was in the vicinity of the kingdom, and God allowed that, and for the simple reason that the story about Job. The devil wanted to prove to God that Job was human. He didn't, if things were going to happen to him, he would change his attitude about God, and that people, and there's a discussion about prayer, and what the devil was saying is that when people pray, they expect something in return, some sort of a reward of some kind. And that's really kind of important, but people expecting, when they pray, expecting something in return, but it's really not about that. It really is about true faith itself, about belief in God. And so the devil was out to really get Job. He was out to prove to God that Job was just, didn't have that kind of faith. He would turn on God depending on what the circumstance, and he was just telling God this. And so he wanted to disprove, about Job. But what he did, he got into his wife. The wife became, the devil influenced his wife. And every once in a while, what happened is Job, which was very well-to-do, had everything that he ever wanted. And over a period of time, things were taken away. And the question is, the devil was beginning to see that there was more to Job than meets the eye. In other words, Job had faith. But Job had faith in God, and not the commitment to God as such. What he also had is the commitment to everything that God stands for. Compassion, understanding, kindness, all the good qualities about goodness, all of it, and that's what Job was really, it was about kindness, and no matter what happened to Job, and everything was taken away from him. And the wife kept telling to him, you got to tell God, this is not right, this is wrong, you cannot just go, you can't do this is not right to God to do that to you. And that was the words from, as I said, the devil was influencing the wife into saying these comments to kind of break Job, because they were very close. His wife, they were very close, and Job just said he had this faith. He had this unbelievable faith in God and all that he stood for. And that's the important thing to all that he stood for. And so it just went on for some period of time, but Job was, just lost everything. Everything was just gone. He had nothing. He had nothing. And yet he kept his faith with God. And when he prayed to God, he didn't ask anything for return. Please help me. What he was is that he wanted to be close to God, and he did question about some of the things that was going on with him, but his faith really was more than that, because he knew what God stood for. He knew that God stood for goodness and kindness, compassion, respect, and honor, all the qualities of goodness. And that's what he kept. That's what he kept. And no matter what the devil did to him, no matter how it influenced his wife to say these things, he kept his faith. We're here on this earth for that reason. I mean, that's part of the reason we're down here is the absence of God. God is not available to us. God is in the spiritual form. We pray to something we really cannot see. We can experience God in our own way, but it's a totally different story when you're down on this earth. It's a very different story. And it really boils down to faith. But faith is not, when you pray, and the one thing I have learned, ever since about the car accident I had back in 2010, I had an experience. Never been the same since. It really, it's altered. I mean, it's changed me, and things go on, but it gets down to faith. And my commitment to God, and when I pray every morning, I've been doing it for more than a decade. Every day, I pray without fail. I pray to God, but I don't pray necessarily to Him. As like Job, I pray for what God stands for, and I try to live my life according to what God stands for. But Job, the story of Job, it is a story like no other. It really is, and it is, as I said before in the very beginning, it is about faith. And I said before too, we're down here at the essence of God, and we're defining ourselves with our relationship with God. Anyway, I just want, it's kind of a refresher course on Job again, because it really is, it not only the story about Job, but it kind of relates to all of us and what's going on this earth right now, all the things that we're going through. But it is about faith, everybody. It is about faith. And there are times that all of us go through stuff. Boy, I tell you, we have our story to tell. And there are times you get questioned it. There are times you have doubts, all kinds of stuff. And the bottom line is, it's a relationship with God. It is a relationship. It has its ups and downs. It goes all over the place. And you go through all kinds of doubts and all kinds of experiences about God. But the bottom line is not only the commitment to God, but what He stands for. Goodness and kindness. All right, everybody, I'm going to go ahead, and I appreciate your time. I'm going to go ahead and end this, but it's a good story, everybody, and I just kind of refresher and just kind of putting it out there, but the bottom line I'm talking about is faith. As always, I hope your day is going well. Until the next video, I appreciate your time, and thanks so much for watching this video. Thanks again.